Today I'm walking. Walking and physical exercise is known to be great for cardiovascular health, physical health, and other aspects of mental health like depression. But one thing we really don't know is how it affects your brain, or cognition, the way you think. A prominent study in the Nature journal a few years ago was published looking at exactly at this relationship. What is the relationship between physical exercise and cognition? Let's jump right into this study and take a look at what it says. What's up everyone, my name is Henrik and welcome back to another clinical trial review. Today I'm breaking down a study that looked at correlations between physical endurance, cognition, and how brain structure associates with those two. This was published in September of 2019 by doctors Nils Opil and Johnathan Repple and others from the University of Münster in Germany and Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. As I said while walking outside, physical activity can have incredible effects on heart health, especially with blood pressure, weight management, and metabolism. Physical exercise has been known to affect the white matter in your brain. White matter refers to parts of the brain that are full of axons or things that transmit electric potential. This is opposed to gray matter, which are primarily your cell bodies. White matter development can affect different parts of your cognition, in addition to general brain function, but there hasn't been clear clinical research into these relationships prior to today's study. Additionally, these relationships haven't been studied while bringing physical exercise into the mix. How does physical exercise relate to healthy brain structure and cognition? That's the question we're looking at. This is why I've primarily selected this relatively newer study to take a look at. So let's break it down and take a look. Jumping into the study design, this study was a purely observational clinical trial that looked at correlations between physical endurance, cognition, and white matter microstructure in over 1,206 participants primarily from the state of Missouri. These participants were originally in the Human Connectome Project database. Exclusion criteria were that you really couldn't have any neurological disorders like autism, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, or depression. And you also couldn't have diabetes or high blood pressure. The average age of the participants was 29, average BMI was 27, approximately half were males, and to account for socioeconomic status, total years of education, like the amount you went to school, was measured, and the average was approximately 15 years. As this was observational, there was only one group of participants, and the researchers measured the exact same variables and did the exact same thing with every participant. Physical fitness or exercise was quantified with something called a 2-minute walk speed test. Basically, you're asked to walk as fast as you can for 2 minutes, and the total distance that you walk is measured. Although this might seem pretty basic, the 2-minute walk test has plenty of external validity and reliability, meaning the results can be applied to contexts outside of the study. I've personally used variations of this test in the clinical trials I've worked in, and it's really useful for measuring functional and morbidity-based outcomes in healthy and sick people. Total cognition was measured using these cognition tests that are listed here. You can Google them if you're interested in more specific ones, but this group or battery is known as the National Institute of Health or NIH Toolbox Cognition Battery, and it reflects overall cognitive performance and creates like an overall big score. To measure white matter structure in the brain, they measured something called fractional anisometry using something called the diffusion tensor imaging and MRIs. Fractional anisometry is a very, very complex concept, something I don't even fully understand. But in an extremely simplified form, it basically looks at the rate of diffusion of water in something, in this case the brain. Realistically, it's a great measure of connectivity or physical integrity of the brain structure. More anisometry is better to some degree. Jumping into the results, there were 3 primary outcomes they found. First, endurance was significantly positively associated with stronger white matter structure, meaning the more endurance you had from the 2-minute walk test, the stronger, more connected your white matter structure was. Second, white matter structure was significantly positively associated with higher scores of cognition, meaning the better your white matter structure, the better your cognition was on those cognitive tests. Finally, and most importantly, endurance was significantly associated with cognition, and white matter structure mediated this relationship. And this mediation model adjusted for those demographic variables we discussed earlier. Years of education, sex, age, blood pressure, so it effectively became more accurate, this prediction model. Important to note that we're not looking at causation, we're not showing causation. Endurance does not necessarily cause better cognition, but it is related to it. And it's related to it because of effects on the fractional anisometry of your white matter structure. Now you might be thinking, Henrik, does this mean that me exercising almost daily can make me smarter? Well, what I'm saying is that this study found that people who exercise more have better cognition, People who exercised less had worse cognition, and the explaining factor could be the integrity of your white matter brain structure. These results aren't new and can be explainable. In 2013, a clinical trial of 120 people found that aerobic exercise training over a year, aka cardio, increased hippocampus size by 2%, and the hippocampus is the part of the brain that primarily deals with memory. So basically, memory got better because you did cardio. A clinical trial in November of 2021 found that in 12-year-olds, results on cognitive tests increased immediately after and after 45 minutes, after 30 minutes of cardio as opposed to no cardio. Realistically, studies have looked into this stuff before, but they never measured brain structures like today's study did. I feel like it makes sense. More connectivity and better structure of the brain can affect cognition for the better. And that's why these results are so cool in my opinion. That's why I picked the study today. Asking the important question, why does this matter? What can you learn? Well, an observational clinical trial found that endurance or physical fitness is positively associated with cognition, and that relationship is mediated by increased connectivity and integrity in the white matter in your brain. This doesn't mean that more physical activity caused increased cognition, but it showed that there's a relationship between the two. These results found in this research are directly supported by past clinical trials looking at approximately similar things in a more causational lens, how exercise affects cognition. Realistically, most people want more cognition to think better, safer, smarter, healthier, more efficiently and effectively, and so that's why this study can really affect you. Maybe when the government recommends 60 minutes of exercise a day for children and adolescents, it's coming from somewhere helpful or logical. Regardless, these are the main results of this study. I thought it was interesting and maybe it is for you too, but it doesn't mean you need to do anything differently, and I'm not recommending anything differently, but they say knowledge is power and now you know, so hope that helps. That's all I really had for today. The main paper and all the sources are linked below and cited. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more content on clinical trials, and feel free to comment a trial or topic that you're interested in that you'd like to hear about. I hope you guys learned something today and have a good one. Thanks.